this 1979 Fox body Mustang. Of course it doesn't run, and it's been off the road for 23 years. So I'm going to try to get this thing fired up, put it back on the road, and attempt to drive hundreds of miles back home.
Derek Bieri built an empire on bringing forgotten cars back from the dead. But one project, a snow-covered Mustang, became more than just another revival. It turned into a battle against time, the elements, and his own creeping despair. The truth about vice grip garage isn't found in the polished, finished product. It's in the moments that nearly broke the man himself. The first signs were subtle, a skipped upload here, a shorter episode there. He made half-joking references to being tired, a weary smile on his face as he crawled under yet another relic of steel and rust. To most viewers, it was business as usual. But the most devoted followers, the ones who understood the rhythm of his work, noticed the difference. The jokes were still there, the grease still stained his hands, but the spark behind his eyes had started to fade. He was running low on something essential, and it wasn't motor oil. The relentless pace was taking its toll. The pressure to feed the hungry algorithm, to innovate, to keep viewers hooked, had become a slow leak in his spiritual tires. He built his world on authenticity, but the demands of that world were turning synthetic, even as he rattled off facts. That's 77 to 79. In 77, they only made 318,000 of these. Not unique, not rare, not collectible. The words felt more like obligation than passion. The move from the frozen plains of Minnesota to the rolling hills of Tennessee seemed like the solution. Better weather meant longer wrenching seasons, fewer battles with frostbite, and more opportunities to create. But deep down, it wasn't just about cars. It was about survival. The Minnesota garage, the birthplace of it all, had become less of a sanctuary and more of a cage, every corner echoing with a weight of expectation. Tennessee promised space, sun, and maybe even a chance to breathe again. Yet, as his family packed their lives into boxes, a frightening question lingered. Could a change of scenery fix a problem buried deep under his own hood? In Tennessee, the southern sun warmed the steel, but the cold emptiness followed him south. The new garage was bigger, brighter, filled with endless possibilities. But Derek carried with him a quiet, creeping fatigue that no climate could cure. It wasn't the kind of burnout that ends in flames. It was subtler, heavier, a drag on the soul that made every bolt feel tighter and every project seem insurmountable. He had spent years reviving dead machines, coaxing life out of rust and ruin. But when he finally paused long enough to look in the mirror, what stared back at him scared him more than any mechanical failure. A void. Back at Vice Grip Garage, it rained pretty much the whole way, he admitted. Cars stayed sealed up, though, so that's good. I do have one big issue I need to address. Already ordered the parts. Overnight at MAM. Even in that offhand remark, the wait lingered. The parts could fix the cars, but who or what could fix him? He was a man who fixed things for a living, but he had no idea how to fix himself. The answer, as it turned out, wasn't hidden in a service manual. It came in the shape of small, quiet moments, like riding a dirt bike across the new lawn or watching his son, Bentley, soak in the simple freedom of a sunny afternoon while he was buried beneath a truck. Something shifted then. Legacy wasn't just about the number of subscribers or the cars he saved. It was about the moments he was missing, the time slipping away with his family. It was about his wife, Jessica, the silent partner who kept the entire operation from spinning off the road, watching him grind himself down to nothing. Fans speculated through cryptic posts and scattered updates, guessing what might be happening behind the closed garage doors. But Derek wasn't hiding. He was trying to decide which parts of the story were his to keep. When your life becomes content, it's hard to tell where the man ends and the camera begins. He knew he was at a crossroads, needing to find a new gear. But before he could chart a new path, he drove straight into a blizzard that would test the very soul of Vice Grip Garage. That test arrived in the form of a 1979 Fox body Mustang, a forgotten block of steel that hadn't drawn breath in over 2 decades. Buried under snow, entombed in rust and doubt, it was exactly the kind of impossible challenge Derek couldn't resist. Pulling it from its icy grave was an act of defiance. Snow tore at his hands, ice clung to every tool, but he pushed forward with frantic determination. This wasn't just another build. It was war. He had one day, one chance, to make it run. A monster storm was closing in, the sky darkening by the minute. The clock wasn't just ticking. It was mocking him. Ignoring the cold in his bones, Derek attacked the wiring, coaxing brittle connections back to life. He fought with a fuel system that had long since given up, wrestled spark plugs at hissing protest, and bled across frozen metal. Still, he refused to quit. And then it came, a cough, a sputter, followed by a magnificent, angry roar that cut through the frozen silence. The Mustang wasn't just running. It was screaming defiance at the storm. That moment was more than victory. It was a declaration. Vice Grip Garage was still alive, still breathing, still dangerous. But triumph was a way of casting shadows. Not long after, Derek faced a betrayal that horsepower couldn't outrun. There were no alarms, no shattered glass, just an empty space where something precious once sat today. A carburetor, rare, valuable, and essential for a future project, had been stolen. For most, it might have been a part. For Derek, it was personal. This wasn't just metal. It was a piece he had rescued years ago from a junk pile, rebuilt with his own hands, and given a second life. Now it was gone, lifted like a ghost in the night. The financial loss was nothing compared to the emotional toll. For a man who had built his reputation on honesty and hard work, it felt like a punch to the gut, a breach of trust that cut deeper than any broken machine ever could. He didn't rant or spiral into anger. Instead, he quietly shared the news, and the response was immediate and overwhelming. The community he had so carefully built didn't just offer sympathy. They took action. In a matter of days, his followers had raised $55,000 as a reward for the carburetor's return. It was a staggering sum, but the number wasn't the point. It was a powerful message of solidarity. We've got your back. They weren't just fans of a channel. They were part of the garage. They felt the loss as their own because every clunk, every misfire, and every hard-won ignition was a shared experience. The thief never came forward, but something more important showed up in their place. Definitive proof that when you build something with heart, people don't just watch. You give them something to rally around. Derek had his community's unwavering trust. But the toxic corners of the internet were about to test his resolve in a way no thief ever could. The next storm didn't come from the sky. It brewed in the murky depths of the online world. It started with a simple joke. Derek had nicknamed the troublesome old project the lawsuit. It was a throwaway line, a bit of classic vice grip humor. But some people didn't get the joke. Whispers turned into rumors, and rumors flared into headlines. Was Derek being sued? Was Vice Grip Garage in financial trouble? Were the wheels about to fall off the entire enterprise? The truth, of course, was that there were no lawsuits and no lawyers. It was just an internet wildfire, fast, hot, and fueled by nothing but smoke. For a man who valued authenticity above all else, the smoke still stung. The rumors didn't hurt because he feared being misunderstood, but because he despised wasting time on noise. Every second spent addressing gossip was a second lost. Time he could have been teaching his son something real. Time he could have poured into meaningful work that truly mattered. And then came another project, one that nearly broke him. A battered, forgotten family station wagon he found rotting behind a collapsed barn in Arkansas. It had no collector value, no chance of being a viral hit. But it overflowed with something far more powerful, memories of a family that was no longer whole. As he restored it, Derek treated every rusted bolt and peeling emblem with a quiet reverence. By the time the engine rumbled back to life, he was in tears, not for the car, but for what it represented. The ghosts we all carry and the memories we bury under layers of work and responsibility. That project wasn't about clicks or views. It was about breaking open. In that moment, he finally understood that Vice Grip Garage was never truly about cars. It was about second chances. It was a blueprint for anyone who wanted to build something beautiful with their own two hands. That clarity brought with it a hard choice, one that would change Vice Grip Garage forever. Derek finally hit the brakes. His life had been running like a car pushed too hard for too long, engine hot, smoking, threatening to quit. The internet was a highway with no speed limit, always demanding more videos, more views, more noise. And for the first time, Derek realized he had to decide whether to keep his foot on the gas or finally let off and find a different road forward. The pressure was a heavy weight on his shoulders, and he was tired of carrying it. So he made a choice. He decided to turn off that busy highway and take a quiet country road instead. Derek began saying no to projects that didn't feel special and cut back on filming. He wasn't trying to win a race anymore. He was just trying to enjoy the drive. This shift changed everything. His work became better than ever, not because the videos were louder or crazier, but because they felt more real. When he worked on a car, you could see the patience in his hands. He took his time like he was solving a puzzle he loved. He also began showing the tough stuff. Before, viewers might only see the triumphant moment when an engine roared to life. Now, they saw the hour he spent fighting with a single rusty bolt that refused to move, or the frustration on his face when a fuel line cracked and leaked everywhere. He showed these mess apart because he wanted people to know that fixing things is hard. It takes time, and you can't give up. In the end, he wasn't just teaching people about cars. He was teaching them about life. In this new, quieter space, something wonderful began to happen. His son, Bentley, was no longer just a visitor in the garage. He became a real partner. With his own small set of tools, Bentley would get right in there beside his dad, his tiny fingernails filled with the same grease and grime. His YouTube channel, Little Grip Garage, wasn't just a cute sideshow, it was a classroom. Derek watched with a proud smile as Bentley learned to hold a flashlight steady or find the right size socket. He saw the same spark of curiosity in his son's eyes that he had as a boy, the need to know how things work. Of course, this team had a secret weapon, Derek's wife, Jessica. She was the steady captain of the ship. While Derek was a master of the garage, Jessica was a master of everything else. She managed schedules, ordered parts, kept the business running smoothly, and, most importantly, knew when it was time to turn off the garage lights. She reminded Derek to put down his wrench and come inside for dinner. She made sure he wasn't just a YouTuber, but also a husband and a father. The biggest restoration project in the garage wasn't a car at all, it was Derek himself. As he fixed old, forgotten machines, he was also repairing his own life. What he was truly building wasn't just a collection of classic cars, but a happy, grounded life with his family. And that is the final truth of Vice Grip Garage. Derek Bieri wasn't just saving rusty metal from the junkyard. He was saving himself.